Hi everyone, and thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel for the first ever Week 1 Programming 2 lab. So each week I'm going to feature a video that discusses the lab and maybe go through one of the problems in the labs and just to get you started. So let's just go ahead and start Eclipse. I'm on a Mac, which is a little bit different from the machines that you're going to work on in the labs, but not that much difference. So I think in the labs you must go to the Start button at the bottom left corner of your screen and then to Development Tools, and then you can start Eclipse from there. And you'll get something that comes up like that, and it might ask you to select a workspace. So I recommend that you store all your files in the H drive, but since I'm using my own computer, I'm just storing them in another directory. So let's get started. Each lab is going to have a number of exercises that allows you to get a little bit of experience in programming and to work on the concepts that we studied in the lectures. So once you have started Eclipse, it looks a little bit like this, if you can see on your screen. Whoops, like that. So what you need to do to get started is open a new project or create a project. So go to New, Project, and go to Java and Java Project, since we're programming in Java today. You can call it any name you want, but it's useful if you call it Lab 1. That makes sense. So Lab 1, everything else is the same, and you just click Finish. And something will pop up. This kind of project is associated with the Java perspective. So yes. So here we are. Not too much is happening here. We have a blank screen here in the center. That's where our code is going to go. On the left we have something that kind of looks like a directory maybe. And on the right some other things. So what do we do? Let's look at the lab here. So the first exercise is to use Eclipse to write and execute the following class. And it's pretty simple. I'm going to go through it in the lecture. So if you're on Monday's lab, you haven't had the lecture yet, but this will be explained in the lecture. So let's just try typing all of this in. Public class hello world application, public static void main, etc., etc. How do we do that? Well, the first thing we want to do is create a class. So if we go to File, New, and then Class, like this, then up comes a dialog box, New Java Class. All of our code in Java is going to be organized into classes, and each class has its own file name. So what do we call this class? Well, switching back to the lab sheet here, public class hello world application. So we just type into the name of this class here, hello world application. And that's it. And we can click Finish. And now you'll notice that something has come up. Seem to have a hello world application.java file here. We have something hello world application, which denotes a class. And we have this text here that we're allowed to edit, as you can see. Well, why don't we put something useful in here? Why don't we just type in what's on the lab? So we've already got that bit. We've created a new class. Now we're going to type in all of this information here. Now maybe you'll make some mistakes at first and maybe you'll get some syntax errors, but I recommend that you type it in by hand. So let's do that. Public static void main string args. You don't actually have to remember this. So there's that. System.out.println hello world. Now Eclipse tries to be very helpful and tries to suggest things for you to type so that you don't have to type it all. It's called a code recommender and it's enabled. So that's great. I don't know actually how to close that. Right. So does this look like the code that is on the lab sheet? Let's find out. So we'll go back. It looks right. Now, what we want to do, we've written it, now we want to execute the code. So if you remember, executing the code, we'll just essentially run it so that we get the computer to do something. So how do we run code in Eclipse? It's quite easy. You just click this play button here. It says run. And it asks you, select resources to save. I always like to save the resources before launching. And if I click OK, then at the bottom on the console, some text appears, hello world. And of course, it's this text. So system.out.println prints to the console, hello world. Now in exercise 2, we get even more complicated where we input some information from the user using the scanner keyboard. So this is a scanner object. And I'm going to leave you to it to read through this exercise and indeed the rest of the exercises on the lab and see how far you can get. Whoops, looks like I have to be somewhere in 30 minutes. All right, hope you enjoyed the video. And if you have any questions in class, please ask. And of course, if you have any questions in the lab, that's what the TAs are there for. They'd be glad to help you. That's all for now. Bye.